Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Walton's World here on Softball America. I'm Tim Walton, the head softball coach at the University of Florida and assistant softball coach for the U.S. women's national team. And today I've got a really special guest, got Aleshia Ocasio here with me. And, I was trying to really think hard about what's my introduction? Do I go All-American? Do I go all NPF? Do I go Athletes Unlimited, single season champion point getter? Do I go Team Puerto Rican, Stage B champion, Pan Am Games silver medalist, bronze medal? I mean, the accomplishments go on and on and on for you, Lily, and nothing makes me happier, obviously, being a Gator and being a Gator great and a national champion. But my guest is Aleshia Ocasio, the well-decorated and a very acclaimed, probably one of the best athletes to ever play at the University of Florida, being able to play. I joked about how many positions you could play on a senior day, and I think you played just about every one of them. But welcome, Lily, and thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. This is really exciting. I'm happy that I get to share this with you. I know that your mission is to grow the game, so I'm happy to be a part of it.
Well, it would be impossible to talk about the game of softball and not just mention the things that you've done, not only on the field but off the field. I know you've really worked really hard on just being the person that you are, and I know you're very passionate about kids and all the things that you've really done post graduation. I know that was a big hug that we shared on graduation day, getting to that day, because you spoke to my team and you've talked to our program quite a few times, but I think that having you on this podcast was really important to me. I've done this in little pockets. I've talked to coaches, I've talked to athletes, and to me, what you've done, as a collegiate athlete, the accomplishments. You were 4-time All SEC. Your freshman year, you were All SEC freshman, and then you were All SEC your sophomore, your junior, your senior year. 2-time All-American. You were an All-American in 2016, 2007, 2015, and 16. 16, you were first teamer, and led the country in ERA, which is, tremendous accomplishment, under one a game. I go back to those days and I think, oh my gosh, what was Aleshia Ocasio's first start? Well, her first start was against Michigan, and went out and pitched amazing as a freshman. I think we only gave up 2 hits and a run, won that game. And then that really helped me. And in preparation for 2015, Lauren Hager threw like 170 pitches in extra innings against Auburn. And we're getting ready to play, Michigan in the national championship in Oklahoma City. And, me and Rocha and Coach Gajewski, we just talked about, all right, what's our game plan? Well, Lauren Hager, obviously first team All-American Player of the Year, Lauren Hager that year. Well, she needed to get the ball. Well, she threw the most pitches she'd thrown the night before, and it was like, let's go to Aleshia. She dominated Michigan last time, and you're not necessarily, it was your first start at the College World Series. We're just going to go ahead and do that in the national championship finals, and you delivered, right? Tell us, that was pretty cool experience.
Yeah. I remember getting that text from Coach Rocha the night before, and I was shaking in my boots. I was so excited, of course, but at the end of the day, it was my first start at the Women's College World Series, the biggest stage of softball, the collegiate level. And Lauren Hager had been like the black horse for the Gators team that year. I had a great year, but Lauren Hager just really won that championship for us. But that text from Rocha the night before, I texted my dad. I said, I'm starting tomorrow. He's like, you got a kid. So that was one of the highlights of my freshman year. So exciting. I look back at it and I'm like, how did I do that? Like, I feel like my soul almost left my body. But at the end of the day, we delivered. It wasn't just a me thing, it was the rest of the team. They had my back, I had theirs. And I feel like at the end of the day, the moments like Michigan, earlier in the season, and throughout the season against like great opponents, prepared me for those moments.
It's funny how when I look back at just the recruiting process, the development of you as a person, watching your player development on the field. I think when we're talking about growing the game, I think that we have gotten in a generation where every kid, not every kid, but a lot of people have become professionals before they are even professional. They all specialize in basketball or softball or baseball or football, whatever they're going to be the best at that sport. And that's all they do. You were somebody who, really, it's really hard to do what you did, especially, as a younger person. You're still doing it now, professionally, and you're doing it now, obviously internationally. But I think about you and I think about what made you so special was that you were a really good pitcher. You're a really good athlete. You're really good. I mean, when we brought you in, you're a shortstop. Like I chuckle because in my opinion, your ability to do all of those things, even though they were very difficult to manage on a daily basis, just gives you I'm sure your brain appreciated that because you could not have a great pitching day, but you had a great offensive day. You not have a good offensive day, you could have a good pitching day. And I think that I just, the message I have for growing the game is, don't let your kids just be one position. Don't let your kids just play one sport. Play as many sports, play as many positions as you possibly can. And, it's not easy. Obviously, you don't want to be the jack of all trades and master of none. But, I look back at your career and I go, wow, you just did so many special things. And I obviously would have to attribute that to your family. Your family, obviously, a good sports family. Your brother played linebacker in college, and I'm sure your dad and your mom and your grandparents. I mean, you guys all probably every Ocasio family reunion. There's probably some type of competition going on. But how did you, as a younger person, forget about college? How did you do that as a younger person and manage all of the things? And remember, all your teammates and your friends are watching this podcast now, so they remember you in high school and they remember you in travel ball. Like, how were you able to do it? And can you give kids a message to, like, hey, if you want to be a position player and a hitter, and just the quote unquote PO, the pitcher only position, how do you do it? How did you do it?
I was just talking about, I think, to a coach this week about how PO is the dirty word. We don't want to use that word. But I have to give a lot of props to my dad. He was the one person taking me to from practice, home from games. So he was always encouraging me, kind of giving me a fighter mindset. But at the end of the day, I just did it. And you know what? It's because I wanted to do it. And I feel like if you want to do something, and this goes out to all those kids out there who want to accomplish something, even if somebody tells them no, if it's something that you want to do, you will make time for it. You will have the discipline. You will go out in the garage, take a tennis ball, and give yourself some rollers. You will work on your hand-eye coordination. You will go out, take some dry swings. You will throw to, whether it's a 9-hole or a well like Odyssey Alexander did growing up, because she wanted to. So I feel like if it's something that you want to do, if you want to go play basketball, granted, you have the resources. Some people, don't have the luxury to do all the things, but within your bandwidth, if there's something that then make the time for it, figure out how to get better.
Yeah, it's so it's so hard because coaches historically, we know what we know. We've learned a lot. We've probably all made mistakes, and it would have been an easy mistake for me to say, "Hey, Aleshia, you're just a pitcher," or "You're you're just a position player, because there were days where, you didn't have a great pitching day, or you didn't have a great batting day, or you didn't have a great defensive day. And I think that was one of the things we talked about, is understanding that your first day on campus is going to be totally different than your last day on campus. And if you can have the patience, and you can have the time management skills, are the hardest thing to do with a player like you, because there's so much stuff that you're doing. And, I look back, and I mean, I look back at the walk-off home run that you hit against Florida State. I look back at I look back at some of the losses that you had, because they were just fantastic softball games you pitched. And you had a 17 strikeout, 7-inning no hitter in postseason play as a pitcher. Like the list goes on and on and on. You were an all tournament team at the College World Series, as a collegiate athlete. And okay, so we take all of the things that you did as an athlete. You graduated from University of Florida. You played first base, third base, right field, left field, second base, DP, pitcher. I mean, I think you even played center field. I remember you playing center field. I want to say maybe at Louisiana Lafayette, maybe one time. Like,
won the World Series against Oklahoma.
Yeah, perfect. Even better. Yeah, why not? There you go. The only thing you didn't do, and then you send me a text message one day of doing lessons. The only thing you didn't do is catch for us. And I see you catching in your lessons with the kids, doing your pitching lesson stuff. So I like, when I think of athletes, obviously I've had Natasha Watley on here, and it's one of the best athletes and best softball players. But honestly, what you accomplished, it's an easy conversation to say, one of the best two-way players to play the game, because nobody can do what you did at the level that you did it at, or still, I won't say did, you're still doing it, on a big level. And so that was proud for me, because again, I know all the days, the tough days we had with success rate. It's really hard to do it. And, we overcame it, and you overcame it more than anything, because you really learned how to manage the time and manage the communication that went into being an All-American on both sides of the ball. I think that was just a tremendous accomplishment for you. So now tell me, as you get out of college and you get out of a routine that coaches, script for you. All right. So let's get into Aleshia Ocasio. And I'm gonna let you expand on your brands and your brand names and all the things that you're doing. And I'm going to come back to, I want to keep international play separate from all of your other stuff, because I know how passionate you are about Team Puerto Rico. But I'm going to save that, because I got a lot of cool things to talk about with you on that. But let's talk about now postgraduate. You move on. Now you're a professional, and let's talk about all those things and how do you do it?
Well, you said it earlier, and it's stuck with me ever since you said it in your office, because I did have those meetings with you. I said, Coach Walton, I want to play more. I want to figure out what I need to do in order to get on the field. And it's funny, because you made me, I laugh about it, because you made me draw a depth chart. And I'll joke to this day, and I'll still tell this story. It was Katie Medina, Kelsey Stewart. I'll joke and tell people I put Alberta on the list at shortstop, and then put me here. But I played shortstop growing up. I played a little bit of left field here and there, but also pitched. And I didn't necessarily, I was disciplined enough to get the job done in travel ball, but it was really in college where I learned all the tools to really stay disciplined. I mean, we had time allotted to us each week for each athlete in order to get our practices in. And I would go from outfield to pitch to hit and just try to put everything in one slot. And I feel through that, and then through my conversations, through like mentorship with you, Coach G, Rocha, AT, whoever it was, kind of helped define what time management looked like. And I think on the flip side of that coin, having to with family, with school, which was, I think, one of the most important things at that moment, because that's one of the things that I struggled with the most, just kind of staying on top of things. And I think just through life in college, I learned how to be disciplined with time, and I'm still learning. I feel like evolving is a never ending journey. And I'm continuing to learn and fine tune my time management skills. But at the end of the day, it's tough, but it's what I want to do. It's who I am more than it's what I want to do. It's who I am. Being the master of all trades, and not just the what is it? Jack of all trades, not the master of just one. That's who I want to be. And honestly, in college, I looked up to Kirstie Merritt a lot because I felt like she was one of those players that just got it. And I was like, oh, wow, there's more to life than just college softball. I want to do this at the pro level. I want to do it at the international level. And so I feel like I looked at her as a blueprint and like, okay, I gotta actually apply everything that I learned in college to real life now, because no one's going to be patting me on the back, telling me what to do, telling me when to go take ground balls, telling me when to go take some BP or pitch. And I feel like I have to kind of create those workouts. I have to be disciplined, wake up in the morning. I can't, the way that I function, I feel like I've learned myself pretty well. If I don't go to the gym first thing when I wake up, I'm not going at all. So it's little things like that where I've kind of learned how I function and what I need in order to be successful. And I feel like that goes in every facet of life. What do I need in order to perform? What do I need in order to be prepared? What do I need to be the best teammate that I can be, even when I'm not on the softball field? So those are just the little things that I feel like I've learned throughout the process in order to make me who I am. And a lot of that stuff I learned growing up, but I give a lot of credit to the people who were in my corner in college, like you, Coach Rocha, even Wes Olm. Like, I'll tell people till this day, like, Wes Olm changed my life. Like, I had a tough time in college, just getting acclimated to everything. And Wes Olm, who was our strength and conditioning intern at the time, was always there to encourage me, was always there to uplift me, and always there for a listening ear. So I feel like people in my corner in college who always encouraged me and just pushed me to my limit, like you guys, are the reason that I feel like I'm so successful to this day.
Well, I think that when you start to talk about successful people, most successful people are driven, and most successful people typically accomplish more than either they accomplish what they set out to accomplish, or they accomplish more than they thought they would accomplish because they're motivated, they're inspired, they're pushed by other people. And I think that's where, I can go back to me. I coached you, 9 years ago. Really it feels more like longer than that, because our relationship has been so strong, especially post graduation. In my mind, I was inspired by you because you really never took no for an answer. And what I mean by no, it was never, you can't do this. It's if you're going to do it, you're going to have to put more time in. If you want to play, you're going to have to hit more on your own. And then when you hit in the games, you're going to have to get hits. Like, you got to go in there, get some hits and do the things. And, I think that was the one. I give you a lot of credit because we had a really good team. We were really athletic. We were really deep, but you made us even better because you did things that some of our players didn't do. And I think that your determination, your work ethic, your ability to, I always said this to you in our meetings, like, you are always so sharp because your recollection, you can recall, your memory, your ability to retain the information is so important. Even at a young player, you were so sharp. Your world was just spinning so fast because you were infielder, pitcher, hitter, student, living on your own for the first time, like so many things. And you mentioned your dad, and you talked about your dad. And again, I remember the picture that you sent. It was your dad and Amanda Lorenz's dad, kind of mocking me on the field. They were in the dugout. They were at third base coaching box. But, I've known your dad a long time. He'll pop into the stands and I'll hear him just kind of say, "Coach Walton." And "Hey, how you doing, Anthony? Good to see you." And he's always so kind. Tell me about when you talk about him getting you where you need to get to. And I know he pushed you, but he didn't do it for you. I know that for a fact. So tell me about your relationship with your dad and how did that, really inspire you to be better or discipline you to be better?
Well, I think when you look at my family, they're just funny people. My father was all lefty pitcher, so he'll tell you, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, those line drives that you get on the mound, they're from me. That's where it's in the DNA." So it started from my grandfather, who was all Army softball. Then my dad played baseball. Um, he stayed close to home, because my grandmother was sick at that time. So he played growing up. He'll tell you to this day that he played for the Yankees, and he had to. He resigned. He resigned. It was him. So he played baseball growing up. He played football, multi-sport athlete. And growing up, he just was very honest with me. He would give me praise when I needed to, and when I deserved it in a game, but also told me the facts. He told me what I needed to do in order to get better. He told me that maybe I shouldn't have thrown it there. So he was really just the bug in my ear throughout my whole career, uplifting me and just keeping it honest with me and what I needed to do in order to succeed. And I feel like through him, I gained confidence because he never once torn. Like I said, he's the facts, and he's the one who taught me how to keep a poker face. You know me, like I'll smile and laugh in your face. We're friends, we're laughing, we're talking. But on the softball field, I feel like, and this is something that I learned throughout my career at Florida, you have an adaptive personality. You have a personality that you own and possess when you're playing a sport or the sport that, you're in college playing. And I have that poker face. And in that poker face, I don't allow my opponent to know what's up my sleeve, what card I'm playing. And he's just kind of taught me a lot of different things growing up in the softball world that have shaped me to be who I am. And still to this day, like I have a picture after my first Michigan win where he gave me this big, big hug. And it's not the best quality. I think it was like an iPhone 1. But he's always been in my corner. And I can't thank him enough for all the sacrifices that he's made throughout my career, because softball is expensive. Softball, you talk about helmets, what, $60, $200, gloves, $100 bat, $400 cleats, $100. There's just so many different expenses when you talk about the game of softball. And then when you look at the cost of actually playing, you have to pay for tournaments, you have to pay for gas, hotels. So I not only thank him for the characteristics that he kind of taught me throughout just being competitive and learning how to fail. I thank him and the rest of my family for the time and the money and the energy that they spent on just allowing me to play the sport that I love, because I know it was a lot.
It's hard. It's not hard. It's, I see when you talk about Wes, your eyes just go to a place where like, oh my gosh, I can remember those days. And I remember like all the things you're talking about. It just gives me the chills to think about reliving those memories and those moments. And now, I get a chance to see you. So for the young kid out there and, the softball kid, they look at, it's Aleshia Ocasio. I see Aleshia Ocasio. She's a star. She's a pitcher. She's number 8. She's all the things. They see the player and a fantastic player. The ESPN highlight defensive pitcher, the pitcher who's got multiple speeds, the hitter that can hit and run and throw, and they see that. I see a mature young woman who's a great teammate, and I see off the field all the things that you've appreciated about your family, and now you're doing things. You got your own brand. You've got your own different. If I even just jump on any of your pages, I might see a Travis Scott picture, or I might see a LeBron James text, or an at you. And so talk about, I'm not going to say off the field, because I don't really feel like, Aleshia Ocasio. I know Aleshia Ocasio is Aleshia Ocasio, but all the things you do as a person, you're doing for so many people on the field, off the field, off the field, on the field. Like you have a hybrid personality that's very passionate about kids and giving them an opportunity to do the things that you were able to do that maybe they're not able to do. So talk about your brand and the things that you're really passionate about now off the field. And
Well,
why?
why? So I just about how expensive the sport of softball is. You have all the think of all the equipment and then multiply that by $50 to $300. I mean, it comes out to over $1,000 just for the equipment aspect of it. But then when you add in the travel, the hotels, the cost of attendance, or whatever it might be, in order to actually play with your team and the uniforms, that is very, very expensive. And it's definitely the barrier to entry within our sport, especially in low income communities. And I am grateful to have family who has been supportive, mentally, physically, emotionally, monetarily. And I feel like it's my job, it's my responsibility in order to help others achieve what they want to achieve. I mean, I grew up taping my cleats. The leather, the pleather on my glove was falling apart. I never had my own bat. There were times where I had to share my equipment and use other people's equipment. And so for me, I want to be able to help young kids who aspire to be a Florida Gator or aspire to be a college softball player or whatever it is, even if they don't want to go to college, just play the sport that they love. And so I've teamed up with a nonprofit organization for, I don't know, I think it's been 5 years now that I've been doing work with them. Their name is Pitch In for Baseball and Softball. And they do a really good job at allocating funds all over the world, actually. But I've had the honor of working with them throughout my career and have dedicated my nonprofit funds from Athletes Unlimited, because we get to play for a nonprofit, towards their foundation. I've done some camps here and there. I went to the Jackie Robinson complex last year and did a camp with them and donated backpacks to kids, gloves to kids. I actually have like over 100 DeMarini bags sitting in my storage right now, just waiting to get allocated to kids who need them. But I think at the end of the day, people want to play sports, and why let little things like a backpack or some cleats be the reason why they don't? And at the end of the day, one thing that really sat with me, I've been working with the intersectional working group for Athletes Unlimited since the inception in 2020. And one thing that stuck with me was just equity. You can go and run a camp and put a smile on these kids' faces, which is great. You're making an impact. But when they leave that camp, do they have the resources to continue to play? And for me, that was a big question mark. So if I can do my part and reach my communities, then I made an impact. And so for me, if I can do that, if I can team up with people and make my reach a lot bigger than what it is, then I feel.
Well, and I think that's it's one of the things that, so in college sports right now, we have, there's a lot of negativity going on in regards to name, image, and likeness and transfer portal stuff and things like that. And again, I think in softball, we've always had, because we'd never been a sport that had, you could transfer when you wanted to, and all the things. So we've had an open market, if you would. It's gotten a lot more competitive and things like that. But the things that I've said about me as a coach and our program in particular, and our institution, is that all of the stuff that we did as a team, and the number of charitable contributions, and getting out to the Children's Hospital and doing things for Thanksgiving, and we did, your team didn't do it, but we did some Habitat for Humanity stuff with kids going out and reading to kids in schools. That was the one thing that I feel like is the most important thing that I wanted to expose all of our athletes to, because at the end of the day, your sport, your teams, your wins, you're probably going to forget about them eventually. You're going to remember your teammates, you're going to remember your experiences, but the backbone to success is you're doing something not just for yourself, but for other people, because that impact's going to grow immensely. And I'm always so proud of what we do here. but I'm more proud to watch you guys grow up and do more than you even, I won't even call it required to, because we didn't really require you guys to do that stuff. You guys did a lot of stuff on your own. I think that that's what makes me happy. And when I see your contribution to the game, and your contribution to people, and then your contribution to people of color, and then your contributions to young girls, like that's like, I'm going, oh my gosh. When you said, I want people to aspire to be, I was waiting for you to say, I want them to aspire to be Aleshia Ocasio, because you're in Dick's Sporting Goods. I mean, you are a very popular person, a popular face. You are a role model to a lot of kids. And I think that's the cool thing for me, is like, almost like a parent figure to you, watching you grow up. I'm like, man, you've accomplished so much. Forget about the softball success, what you've done with your platform to give other people opportunities, to, like you said, to have equity, to have equal opportunity. And, I think that's one thing that you've always inspired me to be, is because I like to learn from people and learn how they're wired, and learn what inspires them. But your brand is now giving kids more, and I'm really proud of that for you. And I'm really proud of that for us, because I feel like I got to watch you mature right in front of my eyes, and your family too. I mean, they're super proud. I see them every once in a while in this state. Your dad will pop into a game every once in a while. I think one day he even drove by for practice. Like, it's just cool. And it's always thank you. Like, I'm like, he goes, hey, thanks, coach. I'm like, no, thank you. I know those conversations, what they were like. And I always say thank you, but really proud of you. So for those that are, and again, we can obviously, we can reply to the social feeds that we put out for this podcast, but I don't even want to do your brand I can't do your brand justice, but I see the markings. Is it tell me what because obviously it's a play on words. I can see it. A08, A8. What is it? What is your
A08? So I just kind of, I don't know how long my avatar on Instagram has been A08, but I feel like after college, I just had to create a brand. And I feel like I didn't strike necessarily when the iron was hot right when I graduated, which is fine. But through just time and learning what, brand awareness is, how I am a brand, I decided to create a logo, and that logo I made myself. And I was like, CP3, or other people in the basketball world who have their own kind of, I say acronym for lack of better words, but really it's an acronym for their name, or their initials with their name, with their number after. And I feel like it kind of just went with my name, A08. Just kind of flows off the tongue a little bit. 8 is great. So I created that a few years ago, just for branding purposes. I think at the end of the day, when you're playing a sport, or when you're trying to create opportunities for yourself in a marketing realm, it's important that you have a brand so that you can market yourself. And through that, I've kind of just worked really hard to have a brand where people want to work with me. And I think I'm using softball as a leg up to do so. Softball has granted me so many different opportunities, whether it be with Nike, with commentating Florida games, with coming to Virginia so I can do the, Norfolk and Morgan State games, whether it is being in Dick's or with Wilson. Through softball, I have gotten so many different opportunities, and with branding yourself, with learning what you want to do, and then kind of building a brand through what you want to do, kind of creating a template or a blueprint, whatever you want to call it. I think it's so important. If it's something that you want to do, if you want to be kind of like a forward facing figure within your niche, it's important that you create a brand. And I feel like I've done an okay job these past couple of years. There's a lot of room for me to grow within this space, and I want to do it for your girls right now. I want to do it for your young athletes who, may aspire to have a brand. I know you have Skylar Wallace, you have Katie Kister making TikToks all the time. But for me, and there's other things that I'm doing that I can't say too much on air right now, but we can talk later. I want to create opportunities for people to play softball and just play softball. They don't have to go get a 9 to 5 in the off season. They don't have to worry about when rent is due. Because when you talk about, I want to grow. I want people to play softball professionally and not have to worry about money. And I think at the end of the day, that's what I'm working towards. And if I can help others by uplifting my brand and putting more visibility to the sport of softball, then I'm doing some justice. Of course, I want to get paid. I want to get my coins. I want to pay my own rent too. But at the end of the day, I look at Caitlin Clark. I look at Angel Reese. I look at some other big names in other sports, and I'm just like, how do we get there? How do we get there without having negative press? I mean, it's always going to come. We can't control that. But I'm just trying to figure out how we can just grow the game of softball and put those big names in other people's mouth. How can we get Don Staley talking about Skylar Wallace? Like, so it's just little things like that that I think about. I want this game to grow at the youth level, but right now I'm playing professional softball, and I want people to be secure and comfortable within the game of professional softball. So if I can create my brand and uplift the sport, then I feel like I'm doing my job.
No, I think you hit that. You really said it well, because you are living proof of what we've talked about on my podcast of how do we get, because right now the youth level softball, high school and youth level softball is as good as it's ever been. They're getting more opportunities. They're playing in front of, I say millions of people, but they're playing in front of a lot of people. And then you move yourself up to the collegiate level. Every weekend in college softball, someone's posting largest crowd ever. This series that we played at Missouri this weekend, they set the attendance record for the most fans in a weekend series for SEC play. And it's every weekend. And I talked to Natasha Watley. I've talked to Mike Kendray. I've talked to Sue Enquist. I've talked to Carol Hutchins. I've talked to Kelsey Stewart and Aubrey Monroe and Jen Sowling and Danielle Laurie. And now I've talked to you, and we're all on the same page. We have an unbelievable sport with unbelievable athletes in it, that the difference between what we have in the United States and what they have in Japan in regards to, professional softball is night and day. And, they have the industrial they have industries backing them up and paying them, obviously. But we've got some fantastic athletes that are playing softball, not only in college, but obviously playing professionally with you or internationally. And we can do it off air, and I love it. But I think that's exactly what this is about: is trying to, in at least naively saying we need the MLB to back some form of professional softball, and then not to say because, oh, well, the guys have it, so the girls can have it. But the girls we need to have our own for you, because you guys there's some fantastic athletes. And being a professional means you get to train to play softball, you get to go play softball, you get to endorse softball, you get to brand softball, you get to support, grow the game from the grassroots. I mean, that's exactly what you're doing. But, you have to wear 17 different hats to even make enough money to, like you said, to pay your bills and put money away, and health insurance and all the other stuff that goes into that. So I commend you on that. And I don't think it should be just vision. I think it should be vision with action. And I'm proud of you for wanting that, because as well as I do that you're going to get to a certain point, you're going to be doing all this hard work, and those that come after you are going to benefit from it. And that's, I think we've all been benefited from those that have come in front of us. And I think that's a perfect transition for us to go into international softball and talk about I'll say your passion, because I read your tweet. I saw your Instagram post last summer on July 22nd, to be exact, in Italy. I'm sorry, in July 22nd, you beat China to send Team Puerto Rico to the field of 8 this year in Italy. And I wrote this down because I'm not doing Duolingo, but I need to get my Duolingo for Italian. The Castellones de Strada and Botrio, Italy, USA, Australia, Team Puerto Rico, the Netherlands, Japan, Canada, Italy, and China for the World Cup of Softball World Championships. I know you were proud of that. I mean, yeah, I see the dance. I saw I saw there was a lot of dancing and moves going on. But what an accomplishment! And I know you're proud of your team because quite a few of those young women have been around with you for a while now. Talk about Team Puerto Rico and what that has done to your softball career, but also to you personally.
I've been with Team Puerto Rico since 2013. There were some scouts who came to my high school game actually, and approached me after the game to play for them, and I did. I said, "Why not? My dad's Puerto Rican. I have the ability to play for something so much bigger." So I took that leap, not knowing what international ball was or what it entailed, besides the fact that we played softball. And I've always been close to, Puerto Rican roots, growing up with, predominantly my father and the rest of my family on his side living in Florida. So growing up, kind of the culture, being surrounded by, Puerto Ricans in my family, and getting the opportunity to play for the women's team in 2015, kind of getting thrown into the fire. 2015, we had Pan Ams that year, played Canada. We have never beat Canada, and we beat them this past summer as well. So that was last year was just a huge summer for Puerto Rico softball. But since I started playing with Puerto Rico, I played with some players that are still playing this till this day, like Carla Claudio, who was working under you a few years ago as a grad assistant, now with Coach Ken Erickson at USF. She's been our captain since I came on the team, and she's just been a leader through and through for our team on and off the field. So I've looked up to her a lot, and she's been, a colleague, a friend, a teammate, everything under the sun. But to play for something so much bigger, I think has been an honor, I think, to say the least. It's exciting. It's all the things. I'm ecstatic to play for, the little island that sometimes goes under the radar in U.S. territory. But I think over anything, it's an honor to be able to play for people back home, especially throughout all the natural disasters that have happened in recent years. Carla came back from the island and said, "This is the only thing that they have right now. Like, their house is destroyed, but they're watching Puerto Rico softball, and they want us to win. They're all rallied up, in the alleys, at the bars, wherever it is, and they're watching us, and it's making them happy." And that touched my soul, it touched my heart, and it made me extremely happy to know that we bring so much joy back to the island. And there's some leagues over there in Puerto Rico where players are playing. I don't want to call it professional. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but softball has a big presence in Puerto Rico, and there are a lot of players that have came out there who still play on the team today. But it's just a play for the tiny little island in the Caribbean, who I have roots with, deep, deep roots, and to be able to win different medals for this island has been so great. And I think the journey that I've had with Puerto Rico softball has, we've had a breakout season this past year. I mean, for myself, selfishly, being the first year that I'm pitching on injury, and then for Puerto Rico to beat Canada for the first time, to clinch number 3 in the world, is so monumental for everyone. And I don't know. I can't help but smile when I think about last summer, because it was just such a fun summer off the softball field. But then you go back to what we did on the field together. I mean, nobody can take that away from us, and that's what makes me happy the most, because we've been together for some time now. Yeah, we have some new faces, some new names. You have Kathy Garcia, who plays at USF, little firecracker, and then you have Amina Vega, who plays at Duke, and I think she was just player of the week last week or something, had a walk off. And it's just the talent that we've acquired throughout this only made us that much better, and has progressed our group and our organization. And it's been fun to just be there throughout all these changes, and to know that we're still getting better. It's scary. It's scary, but it's been such a great ride, and I'm gonna play till the wheels fall off. So you'll see me in the Olympics. Fingers crossed that we qualify. But I'm gonna be playing till the wheels fall off, and it's been a fun ride though, for sure.
Well, I think what you said there is really important. Understanding the accomplishments of Team Puerto Rico, and I'm gonna read them a little bit. I looked into some things and I went back, and I saw that in 2015, Team Puerto Rico earned the bronze medal in 2015, which is a tremendous accomplishment in the Pan Am Games. In 2019, earned a bronze, and when I say earned a bronze, you earn a gold and you earn a bronze. The silver is something that you get by losing, and so it doesn't feel you earned it, yes, but it's still not the same earn. You earn the bronze, you earn the gold, and then in 2023, and it's awkward to even like talk about. So I'm in the third base coaching box. I've got Aleshia Ocasio, one of my friends, somebody I really just love, and she's pitching for Team Puerto Rico, and I think she was in her blue with red pants, pitching against Amanda Lorenz, one of my also favorite people in the world, and they're going head to head. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was the first time I've ever been on a field like that, where I felt like what it would probably be like to be Travis Kelce's mom in the stands, watching her and Travis and Jason Kelce playing. I'm like, I got Aleshia Ocasio and Amanda Lorenz playing against each other, and you just did the sign, but it was still a proud moment for me to see two very accomplished people, former teammates. Obviously, you guys have played against each other in Athletes Unlimited, but you guys got a silver in the 2023 Pan Am Games, which is the highest medal you've ever earned in the Pan Am Games. The falling off of the summer of July, where you guys won to go to the group of 8, and the group of 8 would be if softball were in the Olympics. So this is where I'm trying to tie in all the accomplishments. If softball were in the Olympics this year in Paris, Puerto Rico would be in the Olympics because you qualified. I say you qualified them. Last game, you were 2 for 3 with the game-winning run scored. Carla hit you in, but you struck out 8 and only gave up 1 run against China to get to that point. And so you can't replace experience and the experience that you're gaining over and over and over again with your team. And then the younger players coming up, you're obviously mentoring and teaching them. But when you talk about the Puerto Rican success that you've had now here, and you've been in the program for better than 10 years, you're now accomplishing things for when I think of international softball, I think of international baseball, I think of the streamers and the crowds and the cheers and the chants, and I can envision the alleyways and the bars, them cheering you after you got the last out against China. So when you think about what you've accomplished, because I know this about Team USA's training, Team Canada's training, Team Japan's training. What is Team Puerto Rico's training like? And again, I obviously be honest, be fair, but what is that like to be a Puerto Rican national team player and obviously one of the most accomplished players that you are?
Well, I think with mostly all international teams, you still have some college players on your roster, and it makes it sometimes tough to get everybody in one spot with the landscape of where softball is, because mostly everyone has a job throughout. I call it the off season, but any other season outside of the summer, people have jobs and people are working to make a living, and some are in college as well. Like you have, Amina Vega, like I just mentioned, and Kathy Garcia. Then you have Carla Claudio, who is the assistant coach for USF. So it's tough to get everyone together throughout the springtime in order to have a month-long legitimate training camp. And not to say that we don't train before our tournaments, but that training probably consists of 1 or 2 weeks before we actually have a tournament. And sometimes coach will put tournaments in place to prepare us for the next tournament. For instance, this summer we're playing in two different World Cups in Spain. Obviously, one is sanctioned by the WBSC, and another one's, going to be a little bit different. So he puts more things in place for us to be prepared in game-like situations throughout the summer, so that we have more game experience playing together and getting acclimated once again. Because you take a whole year off from playing together, it's a little bit different when you come back together, and then you kind of have to relearn everybody in a way. So everyone does things individually throughout the year. I think that's pretty safe for every international team. You have Jocelyn Erickson and Skylar Wallace, who just made Team USA lead in the World Cup roster. So they're obviously not going to be with the team this spring. So we will work individually, do what we need to do to be successful when we come back together in the springtime. I'm sorry, in the summertime. I'll be playing with AUX, but Puerto Rico won't have anything throughout that time. So then I'll join them after AUX season, and we'll go ahead and go to Europe. And I think I think Coach has us in Europe for about a month, so we'll be pretty active. The time zones, so we'll be away.
But so it's fair to say that, I'm sorry for cutting you off. It's fair to say that, Team USA, Team Puerto Rico has the same kind of the model that you've got to do a lot of stuff on your own to be mentally fit, physically fit, and prepared to get with your team to perform.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's cool to play together. I think obviously that's the best time, is when you're all together and you're able to have somebody throw your front toss or hit your ground balls or catch your bullpen and do those things. So I'm sure the playing time is actually the fun time, but the real work comes in with all the stuff that you guys do on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not a crazy softball fanatic. Like, I can compare myself to Kelsey Stewart. You know how she is. And we sit here and text about the Florida game all day. I'll tell you that. We'll do that with any softball game that's on. But when I say I love softball, I thoroughly enjoy the process. And I feel like in order to be good at something, you have to. Especially when softball, you fail so much in softball. In the box, you can pitching. It just depends on your preparation, right? But I think at the end of the day, I just love to practice. And I love to see the progression of practice and working on the little things to get better. And I love to see how that translates in game. So I love to win. Don't get me wrong. I come from a winning program. I love to win. And I love to get medals. And it's so great. I mean, it feels great to win a medal, But at the end of the day, I think the process and practice is what I enjoy the most.
I love hearing you say that. Like, just hearing you say that just makes me smile. It's so awesome to hear that you love the process, because the process is a grind and can be a grind, but that's the best part about it is doing things that you didn't know you could do or didn't know you loved to do. You know that about me. I love the process. I would say I love the process more than I love the game. Like exactly the way and when you said it, I went, man, that's a very cool, sweet way to say it. Cause I feel the same thing. Like I love training. I love hitting ground balls to you. I love, when you came out here last year and practice with the team, and I loved hitting ground balls to you. And I love watching you. That stuff gets me excited. The games are the games. I mean, that's for the players. I love the training and the process. That's for sure.
Yeah. A lot of things that I learned at Florida. One thing that stuck with me is we obviously train and we do cardio and 6 a.m.s, all that stuff to be in shape, to have stamina. But I think doing those things, like, you're putting yourself in a position to have stamina and to be in shape so that you're better on the field, so that you can take more ground balls, so that you can jump from right field to third base and then throw a bullpen. So it's little things like that I feel like make you a great ball player. Not just can you perform when you're on the mound. Can you throw a strike? Cool, you could probably throw a strike, but can you really, when it gets down to the nitty gritty, are you well prepared physically? Have you done the work off the field so that you're in the right mental state to be able to overcome an obstacle when you face it when you're actually on the softball field. So I love it, contrary to probably what every other softball player says, but I love practicing. So that's
Yeah,
where.
that's great. Tell me besides winning in this last summer, what is one of the things you've learned the most about playing for Team Puerto Rico? Something that either you've learned about yourself, the country has taught you about it. What do you think one of the most impactful things of Team Puerto Rico has taught Aleshia Ocasio?
One, that softball is a universal language. I think that goes without saying, but I think selfishly, how to be a leader. And we've had conversations before where I learned a lot in college and I didn't necessarily feel like I applied all of it in college. And there are things that I wanted to accomplish throughout my career, post college, that I feel like Puerto Rico can do. And one of them was learning how to be a leader for my team, and not only just doing things by example, but allowing myself to kind of be uncomfortable with figuring out or what other people need, and figuring out how to convey that, and getting them to get acclimated to our culture and what we do. And Carla's our captain, but I'm sitting right there with her as a leader on the team. And I feel like it's been a process to kind of apply those things that I learned early in my career. But Puerto Rico has allowed me the chance to develop a lot of skills that have nothing to do with the game of softball. But you're around softball players and you're around people, and you kind of have to learn interpersonal communication. You have to learn discernment, I think, with anything. And I think above all, if I'm being selfish and talking in that way, I think learning just how to be a leader, and how to be vocal in a way that's constructive. Because I feel like I just did it, like Nike. I just did it. I just came to the field every day in college, and I got my work done. But it was really people like Aubrey Monroe and like Lauren Hager, and other people who were our vocal leaders on the field. So I think my role has kind of shifted in the softball realm and the leadership realm, because Puerto Rico gave me an opportunity to do so.
Well, I think it's really cool to hear your development as a person. I think the main message I get out of that is that leadership is earned, and you've earned that the ability to speak for your team, speak with your team, speak about your team, and help them develop. And you're a huge part of why Team Puerto Rico is knocking down barriers that were in front of them, because you're not only are you being a leader, and in my opinion, you're a helpful type of leader, but you're also being a, hey, follow me type of a leader, where you're going out and you're performing in big games, you're performing in big moments. And I think that's a great leadership quality about you. You've earned it. And you've obviously have gone about it the right way. You've professionally and collegiately, and now you've earned the right to be able to communicate with your teammates, and and whether they're do better speeches or hey, we did better speech. And I listened to your I've listened to a few of your interviews, especially when you're wearing your Puerto Rican kits, your Puerto Rican, your guys' your sweatsuits, and the words that you speak about the players in your team. You can hear the love that you have for them in your voice. And I think that's the cool thing about international softball, in growing this game, and you guys going over to Spain, is that you love your teammates. You love representing Puerto Rico. You love the country. You love the people, and that's what leadership's all about. Is just being somebody that gives somebody an opportunity to cheer for. And I think that's really cool, and I'm proud of you for that. Definitely.
I appreciate it. I think something that I learned, and it was actually in pro ball. My first year, I got drafted to the Bandits. It was Nadia Taylor, who's still one of my best friends till this day. She taught me how to really bring other people along for the grind. I was Nadia's over here like a 5-year vet. Like, hey, come on, we're going to the field. We're going at 10 a.m. And I'm like, okay, let me grab my stuff. So I think I got to give a lot of credit to her in my pro career. It's just teaching me how to bring other people along to the grind, and to just cheer for other people. And that was cool. That was a cool moment for me as a rookie to just kind of be under someone's wing. And I feel like I've adopted that mindset and tried to help other people. It was a hard adjustment from from college to pro, because like I said before, you don't have anybody telling you when to do something, how to do it, when to do it. And so for me, learning, okay, like how we should be operating in the pros, I think I've adopted that mindset with everything. Like, let's go. This is how we do things here. But you still got to figure out what you need in order to be successful.
Yeah, I love that about that. I remember listening to Kevin Durant go through a conversation. I believe it was a "What Drives Winning" conversation with Brett Better, and you talk about really personal development rather than professional development. And he talked about that. It's easy to go get 1,000 shots up, but if you can get 1,000 shots up and bring a teammate along with you, now the team's getting better too, not just you. And so for Nadia to teach you, I mean, she was a heck of a hitter, of a third baseman, her days in college at Texas, and she was a great travel player too. I mean, she was bigger, faster, stronger than most, and the smile that she has. I mean, she's just got an infectious type personality. But I think about that, like, not only did she help you develop, but and obviously she helped the team get better, because you now will take that mindset and you'll bring somebody else along with you. And it's definitely a great way for professional development.
Yeah. Any in any league, in any sport, in any uh you have pro, you have college, you have youth, travel ball, little league. Think in any sanction, I mean, you can bring other people to the ride. I'll get better.
Well, it's a great opportunity for like an infomercial type message, and that is that everybody thinks they're hard workers. I'm a hard worker. Like but you probably thought you were a hard worker, and they're like, whoa, 10 a.m. We don't play till 7 tonight, Nadia. What are we doing going up to 10 a.m. at the field? Like, that's a whole nother level of hard work. And I think that's the infomercial part would be that no matter how hard we think we work, there's always somebody out there that's working different than we are, or working harder than we are. And it's good to learn all of those things along the way, because it's definitely going to help you become not only a better player, but a better player, a better person, a better mom, a better teammate, a better work person in the environment. And now you probably understand that, well, if I'm going to grow my brand, nobody's going to grow my brand more than me. I got to do a good job of working hard and getting all these things done, not just say I'm going to do them. So I think that's legit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we talk about hard work and going at 10 a.m. when we have a 7 p.m. game. I think hard work is, people define it how they want to, because I can go out at 10 a.m. and get 100 swings in, but if 99 of them are bad, then did I actually work hard? So I think just having intention and also just being smart about it. I don't want to go get up at 10 a.m. just to say I did it. Like, I actually want to get better. So I think that's a message to young folk. What I tell my girls every day, like, I don't care if you throw 100 pitches. Like, did you get something done? Did you get better today? So that's like, I think the biggest thing over anything is, I mean, work smarter, not harder, right? Well,
Yep.
you can do, but it's definitely want to work smart.
Yeah, it's very, very good messages. So as we wind down, and I jokingly about doing, like, I had a colleague send me a text the other day, say, "Hey, I've been watching your podcast. They're awesome." And I go, you know what? I love this. It is so much fun for me. It's very inspiring. It's really fresh. We just got in late last night from our trip. I got up this morning. I was excited to come in here and talk with you. We could do this all day long. I could do this all day long. You might not be able to. I love this stuff, catching up and then helping and being helpful to so many people is cool. So I got really a quick question. two quick questions and then a closing question. First two questions are going to be the same. The toughest hitter you've ever faced and the toughest pit. You get both questions because you do both. Toughest pitcher you've ever faced, toughest hitter you've ever faced. And it's okay. We're not here to make friends. We're here to grow the game.
I've had quite a few tough hitters. I think most friends is really freaking hard out. She is so hard to get out. I've gotten her out a couple of times. But I think over anything, she got outside of herself, swinging at a rise ball way out of the zone. But when I talk about rise balls way out of the zone, that's the only way I can get a man to chase her out, right? She'll chase it. So I will say those two are probably the hardest batters that I've faced, and hardest to kind of make a scouting report on to figure out how to get out, because when you're facing batters in this league, you don't always just go one time through the lineup. You're trying to figure out how to get them out multiple times. And just as smart as you are, they are too. So they know what you threw last at bat, get them out, and they're going to keep their eye on it. So they've been really tough to get out. As far as pitchers, gosh, there's some tough. I hated hitting against O'Toole, but I think it's because I'm a lefty and she's a lefty and she has an off-speed curve.
The ball goes that way.
that way. She was a tough one. I feel like there's one that's lingering. I can't think of them. I would have to say her most recently, O'Toole for sure. Yeah, she was a tough one. I hated it, and she's a freaking great. She's a great defensive pitcher too. So if I were to try to butt on her, I mean, good luck.
Well, again, the Amandas obviously have very good reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, both very decorated in college, very decorated professionally, and then obviously now with Team USA, both of them the same. And O'Toole, obviously, with that little crop dusting curve ball away from you. I mean, it's just it's a brutal pitch. All right, so here's my closing question, and I think this is for just again for you. I haven't asked everybody the same questions. I like to really be unique to the person, but if there's one thing you could leave a younger person, and again, it could be this is the cool thing I think is Aleshia Ocasio is such a good player that there are young boys and young girls, grown men and grown women that really appreciate what you do for the game and how good of a dang player you are, that they look up to you. They're inspired by you. What can you give what one thing do you think you could leave our podcast with that you think could make an impact on people? One thing about, again, it could be a do better speech. It could be a drill. It could be it could be scripture. It could be a quote. It could be an experience. What one thing could you leave us with that you think could be super impactful?
I have a lot to say, but I'm gonna just stick true to who I am and just tell a young player to be themselves. I mean, at the end of the day, who they are is what matters the most over any sport that they play. And that's one thing I learned through the process is who you are is not what you do. And I feel like who I am and how I've been unapologetically myself got me to where I am, aside from all the accolades and all the stuff that I've done on the field. Just who I am kind of led me to be in these positions. And if who you are is a disciplined individual, great, continue to be disciplined. If who you are is somebody who needs to dance in the cages before BP like I was, then do that. If that's what you need, go ahead and do it. But I think at the end of the day, who you are is not what you do. Be unapologetically yourself and roll with it. And I think that's all encompassing when I tell you to be yourself, all encompassing, because who you are can be a lot of different things. So just be who you are.
There you have it. I think that I sometimes feel like I can say something and then take away. I'm like, nope. I'm a leave I'm going to leave our Softball America podcast with great words of wisdom and from Aleshia Ocasio, one of the soon to be one of the most decorated players in our sport at all levels, collegiately, professionally, internationally, and hopefully in 2028 also a medalist in the 2028 Olympics. Aleshia, yeah, do it again. I just might as well. I mean, when I see the show, I'm like, all right, there it is. I got it. I love it. Well, thanks for being on the podcast with us. I know that there are a lot of people that are going to be tuned in because they're excited to hear from you, and I really appreciate everything you do for the game, for all the young people and old people like myself alike. You've really impacted the game in a great positive way. And thanks for being on the Softball America podcast and Walton's World episode. So thanks again, and I appreciate everybody watching, and look forward to the positive feedback that we get on AO8. It's great to be 8 podcast from Softball.
8 is great. Thank you so much for having me.
You're the best.
It was such a pleasure.
Love you, Lily. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. Bye-bye.